Welcome to today's podcast where we are going to talk about hard conversations. Ooh, doesn't that sound fun? Can I just avoid them and go away? Do we have to have the hard conversations? Well, you don't have to have the hard conversations, but they are still there under your skin. So having hard conversations, being able to have hard conversations with your spouse, with your firefighter, with your first responder is super important. One of the hallmarks of positive, long-lasting relationships that is seen in research, and when they research relationships, is the way people approach hard conversations. So I want to give you a real tangible tool today that you can put into action around having a hard conversation. And maybe you don't start with like the biggest, hardest thing ever, but kind of try it out. Practice it for yourself a little bit here and something that's easy. We don't always have to start with the big, hard stuff. Now, I learned this technique from my sales coach. So I have somebody, been in business for a very long time, have a couple businesses. And so I have a sales coach. And her name is Nikki Rauch with Sales Maven Society. Here's a little plug. If any of you out there have a small business that has anything to do with sales, if you have a business, you do something with sales, if you like it or not. She is amazing. So she taught me this concept. And if it seems kind of weird, why am I bringing a sales conversation, a sales technique into your relationship? Because there's a very simple answer to that. The reason why I'm bringing it over is selling is just about relationships. It really is. You're just building a relationship and a rapport, and it's combined with an offer to, in the case of a business, to purchase something. When we are talking with our partners, we are oftentimes selling them on something. We're selling them on that this is a great dinner, selling them on staying in the relationship, on being in love together, on a parenting point of view, on all kinds of number of things. There's obviously no financial transaction, but the transaction is an emotional transaction, right? Any kind of conversation that it doesn't even have to be, I want to say persuasive. It's not even being about persuasive, because at the end of the day, the reason why I love my sales coach is because it's all about not being slimy. I'm not trying to pull one over on somebody. When you are very good at sales, you really are very good about just connecting to the other person and seeing if you guys have something that matches up together. What you want is what I have. And if you have that match, beautiful. If you don't have that match, no problem. There could still be, like we had last episode, unconditional love. I can still love and respect and enjoy that, each other. Maybe refer them to something else, to somebody who does have what they want. And maybe they'd refer me to somebody else who wants what I have, however it is. But it really is about coming together with this very open, loving kind of relationship. And if there's a want match, great. Then you have, in that case, a sale. In your relationship with your partner, right? It really is that your partner has wants and needs and has things to offer you. And you have wants and needs and things to offer them. And your relationship is how you relate these things together, right? Are your wants matching up with my needs? Do we have a match here in what's going on? The thing I talked about the last episode that was about love was one of the other things that research finds is 70% of our arguments are unsolvable, right? So we're coming at that the want and need don't necessarily match up. But in our relationships, it's not a sales transaction where you're like, okay, goodbye. They don't match up. We don't need to stay together. We don't need to relate anymore, right? But in our spousal relationships, You're like, even if some of our want matches, some of the things don't entirely match up, I still want to stay in relationship with you. We're going to continue to be together. So this is where we can have hard conversations sometimes of how to negotiate this space that we're two different people coming from two different places. So this is why I wanted to teach you this quote sales technique and bring it into your relationship. Because, as I said before, how one approaches these tough conversations makes a huge difference in the outcome. Now, it's not like a huge difference in the outcome means you get your way or they get their way. It just means that you're able to build something together, even if there isn't 100% agreement on something, but you're building together instead of pulling apart. Okay, so here is the technique. Let's go into it. So I'm going to take you on a little side story here, a little side trip. But I have in my house 2 animals, and maybe you do too. I have a cat and I have a dog. They are both wonderful. I love them both, but they have very different energy, right? I relate to them differently. So let's just think about how you relate to a dog versus a cat. So when I come home, the dog is like, oh my gosh, I'm so excited to see you. Here you are. Hi, hi, hi. Super excited dog energy, right? And sometimes that's really fun, right? Like I know to expect this from my dog. I know, right? I get all in and the tail is wagging. I got a big 75-pound dog. She's got a big long tail, goes whapping around everywhere, right? And we just like fill up on the love and the petting, and then she goes back and lays down. The next person comes in, hi, 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 right? So excited. When I want her, when I have a sales conversation with her, when I want her to do something, my voice and presence is in that excited, energetic kind of way. Come here, hi, 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 right? It's very energetic and excited because that's how we relate to dogs. Now, not all of us do, because there's also the whole like dog whisperer part. I know their energy is much calmer and there is a whole other piece of that, but we're going to leave that aside. Just the general thing of what we think of dog energy, right? That super excited energy. Now, if I go up to my cat, I also have a cat who's quite friendly. See, he's quite a lovely cat. He's very social. He loves to hang around. When we have people in the pool, he'll go up to them. If they're leaning up against the side of the pool, he'll actually go up to them and bop them on the back of their head with his nose, and he'll play with them in the water and stuff like that. So he's an incredibly friendly cat. But even with that, when I come home, I do not greet him in the same way, because he would just take off, right? If I greeted him with, hi, Oliver, hi, kitty, oh my gosh, he would run off and hide, right? He's like, who is this crazy lady? I am not the dog. Don't talk to me like the dog. With a cat, we have to have here, kitty kind of language. We change our tone, we soften in, we offer our lap. I'll sit down, maybe kind of near him, put his favorite blanket in my lap, and I wait and I let him come to me. And even when he does, he sort of walks on the edge of the chair, gently kind of tiptoes into my lap, and then starts purring, right? And I can relate to him that way. Cat energy, right? My coach, Nikki, says, you're here, kitty. So just get these 2 images in your brain about how these 2 different, you have dog excited energy versus here, kitty energy. When there's a time that you're like, I need to have a tough conversation. I want to revisit one of these conversations that might not have it might not be completely solvable. but I want us to work on it together. I want us to start to find some places that we have some overlap and can find some agreements to, and to build a deeper understanding of why they do what they do and offer up why I'm doing what I'm doing, and see where we can come together on these things and have empathy and love towards each other in these places that are hard and sticky in our relationships. You want to come to those conversations with the here kitty kitty kind of energy, not dog energy, not excitement and like going into it. And when I say excitement, when you think about a dog, it's like happy excitement, but you could also sort of think, if you're coming to a conversation with I'm right and you're wrong, proving it has to be this way, you're doing it wrong, right? This intense kind of energy. If we come to the conversation with that intense kind of energy, your spouse is going to be like that cat and run off. Now, they might not literally, I know in the case of our firefighters, like mine, doesn't run off physically, although sometimes not in that exact moment, but it's more, you can see it in shutting down or becoming defensive themselves, right? Barking back at you, mirroring that energy that they're just avoiding. If you find that your partner is kind of avoiding you, or you get a sense of that, or you're unsure of that, right? So we want to watch the energy that we're coming into it. It doesn't mean not have a conversation and not be curious with what's going on with them, but really think about, I want to have this conversation. Maybe it's going to be part of the conversation. Maybe this conversation is going to evolve over time because maybe it's one of these things that isn't 100% solvable, but we can bring softening around it. I want to come at it with the here kitty kitty kind of energy. Maybe just even offering up, this is something when you're in the next day or so, I'd like to talk about this. I'd like to just get your perspective on it. Let me know a time that might be good for you. And just leaving it at that. Right? This is me walking into the room and acknowledging, yep, the cat's in the room and I'm in the room. We're both here together. Maybe it's offering a question. I have been on this difficult thing that we have. I wonder if this is one of these kinds of problems that there isn't really a way to 100% resolve it. I'd be curious to hear what you have to think or what you have to say, and leave it at that. Leave open-ended invitations. And what we want to be careful of is we leave open-ended invitations. We invite our partners into a conversation. We start to share a little bit from our perspective, ask a little bit from their perspective, from this energy of here kitty kitty, showing our partner that it's safe. I'm not going to go from here kitty kitty to dog energy, to pouncing all over you. And maybe because we're human, that might come out. The claws might come out, right? When my kitty walks on me, he's very gentle and then he gets a little scared and his claws come out, right? This happens. We can acknowledge it. Oh, sorry, hang on. Let me give myself a little space here. I can feel that my defensiveness is coming out. My claws are coming out. This might be enough of the conversation right now. Can we come back to it tomorrow? Can we come back to it in an hour? I'm just going to go outside and decompress for a moment and come back to a space where I'm calm again and coming from a curious space instead of an attacking space. When I greet my dog, I get that love back. I get the interaction right away as soon as I want it. I know how it's going to be, right? When I call her over, she is getting a little older, so she's a little slower now, but I just know I can call upon it in this sort of assertive, aggressive manner. But with my cat, I have to let it play out a little more over a longer period of time. I have to really be in it for a longer relationship. And I have to put more energy into the process of allowing the two of us to come together versus me dominating it. Cats have their own opinions about things, and so do our spouses. And this is a beautiful thing. We want them to have their own opinions. It what makes them great first responders, right? To be smart and intelligent and emotional human beings. We want that in them. And we want them to be able to have space for that to be brought forward. So next time you're thinking about, all right, here's a hard conversation that I'd like to bring up and I'd like us to start to unfold. I'm going to unfold it over a period of time, creating this safe space for myself to come from a space of calm, just like I would greet a cat, and to be offering this conversation and offering questions and offering listening and allowing my spouse to come in the same way that I allow the cat to come sit on my lap or not, to take a little space and come back a little later and we can revisit it. We don't have to push to fix it or change it or make it right away. Be in it for the long haul. And this will give you that opportunity, like in the last episode, where I'm talking about love, feeling more love, to build your connection, to build your sense of love for yourself and your partner through these hard conversations, not despite having hard conversations. Hard things are a part of our marriages. We wouldn't have it any other way. If it was so easy, they agreed with everything that we said, that wouldn't be any fun at all. Right? I agree with the things that I say, and, I don't need to marry myself. My spouse is an amazing and interesting person and has their own thoughts and opinions. And it's coming together in those that make a rich and wonderful relationship, a relationship that lasts and builds on itself. All right, my friends, be committed. What are you committed to in your relationship? Are you committed to being the dominant dog owner? Or are you committed to developing and cultivating your relationship for both of you? Be present. When you have these conversations, notice your presence of, yes, I'm in calm kitty space. Oh, I'm amping up. Those claws are coming out. It might be time for a break. Take a break. Make sure you say when you're going to come back. Come back into that conversation. Show up with curiosity, right? Be curious what your spouse has to say about this tough conversation. What did they have to say about taking those overtime shifts, about how it is to reintegrate into the family after being gone? How is it for them to be not parenting a third of the time while you're a single parent for a third of the time, right? How does that show up for them? Be curious. Show up with love for yourself. You get to have your side of this hard conversation and just really love yourself for it. You're allowed to think and feel what you want. Show up with love for yourself and for your spouse. They get to think and feel what they want as well. I'm using this curiosity, the here kitty conversation to build ourselves up together and grow in love. Thanks so much for listening. Make sure you subscribe on your favorite podcast app so you can get every episode. And when you are ready to be in action, come find us. Facebook, Instagram, or our website. It's all the same name, relationshipsonfire.com. We've got that S on there. There's lots of us having relationships. So relationships with an S on fire.com. Thanks so much. Saying goodbye, your fire and water gal, Cori Myka. See you next time.